Hello, this is Andrea again, Andrea Hawkins. I was just laying in bed thinking about the fact that I started these videos without giving you any background about who I am and what even gives me the authority to talk about God or to give a testimony or to give an example of anything that you may be going through in your life. I wanted to share with you that I love God with all my heart, all my mind, all my soul. I've known Him since I was 17. I've known of Him since I was a little girl, but my experience with God didn't start until I was 17 years old. And from there on, we had a traumatic multitudinous relationship. And, you know, I have grown, I have learned, um, have suffered, I've endured, and all that stuff. But I keep saying but, it was through His grace and it was through His mercy that I'm here sitting in front of this camera talking to you. Um, just want to give you a little bit of background about who I am and what gives me the authority to speak. Um, Christ gives me the authority to speak. He says that we overcome by our testimony. And I have a testimony. I have several testimonies, but just so you know, I won't be going in depth about my testimony. I'll just be hitting and missing on some things that I've endured throughout my life. And yeah, so we'll go from there. So, beginning, I can remember all the way back to when I was 2 years old. Um, when I was two, I experienced, I guess, my first trauma, or you can say, I was asleep in bed and woken up by two individuals having sex, and I still remember it vividly, like it was yesterday. Going on from there, as a child, I my cousins, gosh, at between 2, 3, 4, around that age, they also introduced me to sex and the different things about it. Too young for a person, a child, to even encounter, but I did. Um, from there, uh, my parents split up, and um, I was adopted by my grandparents. Uh, in During that time, I experienced physical abuse. They used to My grandmother, who became my mother, well, she was actually my step grandmother. Um, she would tie me up and put me in a corner, literally tie my hands behind my back, tie my feet together, put a blindfold on me, and put a bag over my head. Um, and so I experienced that often. There were some people living in the house, and once she left, they would untie me. They'll take the bag off, untie me, give me breakfast, and make me laugh or whatever the case might be. And I remember when they hear the car pull up, um, they all would hurry up to tie me back up and put the bag over me and put me in the corner, so it looked like I had been there all that time. And then she would come in and tell them to loose me or whatever the case might be. So that was yet another trauma. There was one specific time when I took something out of the refrigerator that didn't belong to me, and I bit it and left a bite mark. I was a child. Why would I not? I didn't understand that, I had little teeth and it would only be me as being the only child. in the house at the time. So of course, when they asked if I did it, and I lied, and with that came the punishment of being tied up again. But this time, when I was tied up, she tied the bag as well, and she took me and put me in the trunk. And she said that she was going to throw me into the river, into the ocean, and no one would be able to find me again. And they drove around. Well, she drove around with me in the trunk of the car. I don't remember how long, but it was because I had no concept of time then, but it just seemed forever and ever. And, I'll never forget that. So moving forward, we moved from, I know I told you in a previous video, my first video, that I'm from South America and Guyana. And so we moved here to America. Um, it was under the pretense of um, getting away from a dictatorship. But now that I'm grown and I'm able to really decipher stuff, and it was really a ploy to get me out of away from my mother, because my mother still wanted to be a part of my life. Um, Came to America, and here I still endured abuse. I found out at the age of 12 that the only reason why I was even adopted was because they wanted my sister. Um, they being my step grandmother, she wanted my sister. But my birth father told them the only way that they would be able to adopt her was they had to adopt me too, because the disparity in how we were growing up was vast. Um, my sister, that is, she had nannies and maids and butlers, and um, dressed nicely, and she had the best of everything, toys galore. While where I stayed, um, I lived in I guess what's equivalent to the projects here in America, and, didn't have the things that my sister had. So my birth father stated that he didn't want his daughters growing up different from each other. I sometimes wonder if that was the right move on their part, but so be it. It was my life. I was told at the age of 12, I had an attitude. When children get to that age, they think they know stuff, and they start to exhibit their own personalities and get, rude, or whatever the case might be. Just showing themselves, smelling themselves, I guess is the term that's used. So I had an attitude for something or the other, and I remember my grandmother, my step grandmother, saying to me, well, my mother at the time, because I was adopted at 5, and I remember her saying to me, the only reason, she said, you think that that you're special. She said, you think that you're entitled. She said, but the only reason why you're even here with us is because your father wouldn't sign the papers unless we adopted you. And so immediately in my heart and in my mind, I realized that I was a package deal. I realized that the only reason I started to understand why so much difference was shown between myself and my sister. And yeah, uh, I just experienced just being mistreated, being treated like the maid, having to do all the cleaning, and so forth and so forth. Anyway, going from there, at the same age of 12, I was she thought that I was having sex, and I wasn't. Uh, the only sex that I had had was the incest that had happened to me. Um, so she decided to take me to this pediatrician. Got to the pediatrician. I don't know how he was able to tell, but yeah, he's a doctor, so he knew that I had been tampered with, and told her. And he offered to be a mentor to me. Um, so I got a part-time job at the age of 12, working in a doctor's office. It came with a cost. It was then that um, I was really abused sexually, misused. I was treated like a prostitute, didn't know it at the time, didn't understand that that was what was happening to me. Um, Gave me anything I wanted in exchange for what he wanted. Moving on from there, I tried to tell them about what was going on with me, but they, they being my step grandmother, my parents, I tried to tell them what was going on, but they didn't listen. They said that I didn't want anybody who um, was going to discipline me because I didn't want to go back. So I continued with that abuse for like 3 or 4 years. I think I stopped working there when I was 15 years old. At the age of 14, I had my first boyfriend. Also, I thought anyway, not knowing that he had an ulterior motive. That was when I was raped, and it wasn't somebody in the family or the doctor. Um, he raped me, and from that rape came a pregnancy. My parents found out, of course, and I ended up, they took me to have an abortion, which was very traumatic in itself. Moving on, I stopped working at the doctor's office. I was either 15 or 16 when I stopped working there. At 16, there was another boyfriend. And by this time, I'm trying to find love in any way that I could, um, and ended up pregnant for him as well. He was very abusive. He used to beat me up, but you know, I thought I was loved. Um, Ended up telling a family member about my situation, and um, this family member also took advantage of me. I was molested once again, uh, had an abortion, then almost died with that one too. But of course, here I am. God spared my life. Then from there, I was put out of the house. I was a runaway as well. Would run every time I would run, but when I was beaten, going back, there was one time I remember, um, and she punched me in the face because I didn't tell her I was on my cycle. Another time, I was boiling water because I cooked all the meals, and she got angry about something, can't even remember, and she picked up the pot that was with the boiling water on the stove and hit me with it. The whole side of my arm got burnt. Um, it was just constantly abuse after abuse after abuse, and um, I I used to take her medicine and try to kill myself, and it started to look like I was taking drugs. I never took enough or the right dosage to actually end my life. It was so bad that even now I have difficulty taking pills because I took so many trying to kill myself, and it never worked. God had a plan. Um, and so moving on, 16 years old, had the abortion, and after that, that relationship ended. Um, Ended up moving out of the house, living with someone, and what do you know? Once again, being molested, fondled with. Um, Left that situation, and I met my husband, and we've been together ever since then. Thank you, Lord. I always viewed him as my rescuer, and just grace and mercy on my part. But the story doesn't end there. I endured some more stuff and more adult hurt. You know, I had my children and just the different things that I've been through in life. And uh, okay, I need to go back before. After I met my husband, I started going to a church, and there I learned that fornication was wrong. You're not even supposed to hold hands. You're not supposed to kiss and all of that stuff, you know. Um, and so it was difficult after having sex with my husband for, I don't know, about a year or so and experiencing sex all my life. It was difficult to not have sex. So I went for counseling with the pastor to find out, you know, what can I do? How can I keep them, you know, keep from committing this ungodly sin? And, you know, in talking to him, I'm looking at him, I'm always looking for a father because I never had a father. Um, so, in talking to him, thinking that I would be able to get the needed advice and be able to walk with Christ the way I needed to. Well, there goes it. There it is again. They, you know, same thing happened. Got whatever I wanted. Was able to get what I wanted. Be able was manipulative, and because he was taken from me. I learned from the doctor that if I allow them to do whatever they wanted to do, that I can have what I want. And so this went on for a while, even with my boyfriend, my husband. He, unbeknownst to him. Um, and so that ended. I ended up pregnant with my daughter, and my husband and I married, and that story ended. I stopped going to the church. It was an escape for me. And then life started. It endured so much. And so Um, I'm already 17 minutes in with this testimony, so I'm going to cut it short because I know as I continue to do these videos, my life stories, my tests, my trials of being homeless, of um, almost losing my children, just the different testimonies will be able to help so many people because God is faithful and He's just. And because He allowed me to go through the things that I've been through, I am able to help others to see that God is on the throne and He's not going anywhere, and that He loves you, and that um, He's making you. All these experiences are um, are working together for my good. I didn't lose my mind, and I know some people who've been raped who can't get over it, who, they are traumatized, they stuck in the house, won't do, or, whatever the case might be. People who have mental illness, people who have taken their lives because they've been through incest. It's just amazing to me when I look back and I see that I'm still here and that my purpose for being here is to reach those that are unreachable, to reach those that think they're the only ones that are going through it. My purpose is to heal, is to speak to those that need healing, to let them know, even though you've been through this, God loves you with an everlasting love. And so the whole reason is, the devil knows the thoughts that God has towards you. He knows the plans that he has for you. He knows that he's peeked into your future, and he knows that you're going to tear his kingdom down, that many shall be saved by your hands, by your words, by your testimony. And because of this, he tries to take you out as soon as he can. He tries to destroy you. He tries to keep you, to get you to shut up and not say how good God is and what he has done for you and how he's brought you through. And because this is the devil's ploy, um, you know, he he tries to shut us down, but God, but God, but God, but God. And what I realized reading the Bible and the different stories of the different people in the Bible is that every one of them had a background. Every one of them been through something, did something, and I'm able to glean, and many people have been able to glean from their testimony. So just know that we overcome by our testimony and the blood of the Lamb. It's God's desire to save you, to heal you, and to use you to go out there and to speak to others who are in your situation or were in your situation and don't know how to get out of it or don't know how to survive it. That's the whole purpose of this. And I'm really excited about what he is going to do in my future through these videos and how many people that this is going to touch. And so please share my video, share my testimony. If you have any questions, um, anything that you're dealing with that you need the answer to, just write it down. Just leave a comment, leave your questions, and I will go to God to get the answer. All right. I guess I'll stop here because I'm starting to feel a little bit emotional. So I'm going to stop here now and just know it's to God be the glory. And this is for his glory. And as many people that I can touch, that he can use me, not I, but he can use me to touch, and that can get a healing. That's how many people I want to be able for him to use me or to speak through me to reach. I love you guys. Be blessed.